Today, I will be taking a look at a 2025 Mazda CX-3. I'll be taking a look around the vehicle, in the vehicle, and taking it for a drive, giving my thoughts along the way. But what is the Mazda CX-3 and where does it fit in Mazda's lineup of vehicles? Well, the CX-3 is a subcompact crossover SUV style vehicle, and it's actually the smallest CX you can get in Mazda's lineup locally currently. In terms of size, think Toyota Yaris Cross, except the CX-3 is 3.7 inches longer, but it is 2.3 inches shorter. However, next to each other, you won't even notice that size difference. In terms of ground clearance, you have between 145 to 160 millimeters, which translates to between 5.7 and 6.1 inches of ground clearance. Now, this is the Core Plus model. It's the only model you can currently buy, and it comes in at $198,000. If I had to describe it simply, I would say it's a bare bones base model of a vehicle. It's lacking a lot of things, but let's get into it. Up front, you have the familiar Mazda layout. You have the familiar grille with the Mazda logo. You have LED headlights, daytime running lights, fog lights up front, no front parking sensors, no front camera. While it does share the same Mazda design language, it's in no way as aggressive as others in the lineup. In terms of wheels, you have large 215 50/18s, and you do get power folding mirrors with turn signal repeaters attached. Unfortunately, no 360 camera system, so there are no cameras under the side mirrors. But you do get keyless entry, so there's that. Around the back, you have your usual shark fin antenna, third brake light, rear wiper, a backup camera, and backup sensors. You don't get any front parking sensors though, only the rear. Shockingly though, you do get dual exhaust. And it's not like what most manufacturers are doing these days, giving you exhaust tips that have decorative pieces on the bumper and the exhaust is tilted down below, you can't even see it. No, no, no. These are actually functioning exhaust pipes coming out of the rear. And when you are doing a bit of spirited driving, you can hear them doing their things at the back of the vehicle. This is excellent to see in a vehicle in this day and age. In terms of trunk space, you have 264 liters with the rear seats folded up and 350 liters with the rear seats folded down. It's not very big. For comparison, a Honda Vezel has 400 with the rear seats folded up and a 450 with the rear seats folded down. So to make it simple, I would say it's just about half the size of a Honda Vezel's trunk. On the right, you have your light. Most trunks have lights in them. And under the floor, you have a full-size spare. Something you don't see in this day and age. No, it's not matching rims. So it's not the exact rim you'll find on the outside. But it's a full-size wheel like the ones on the outside, which is good. You don't see much of this these days. Most times you only see like either a donut or no spare tire at all. The door panels are mostly hard plastic, only broken up by a bit of soft touch materials in the middle. It's a kind of cloth-like material, and then where elbows rest is a kind of soft sponge-like material, but it's mostly hard plastic. If I had to describe the rear of the CX-3, I would describe it as functional in that there's nothing extra going on. You have no rear AC vents, you have no rear facing USB ports. It's just a functional place to be. When it comes to comfort, that would depend on how tall you are, and here is why. Even though the CX-3 may look big on the outside, it runs into a common problem that these subcompact SUV-esque vehicles run into, and that's rear legroom. Because after all, it is based on a third generation Mazda 2, so it's a car with a bigger body. And rear legroom often suffers when you have that taking place. The Mazda 2 could fit in the same footprint as a Nissan Note. But the strange thing is that even in the Nissan Note, you have more rear legroom than you have in the CX-3, which is one of the compromises manufacturers often have to make when they are trying to turn a small car into a big SUV. But it's really a car underneath. That's an issue you don't have up front though. Even though you have the same hard plastics on the door, same hard plastic everywhere, you have more space up front. You can tell that the CX-3 is a driver and front seat passenger centric vehicle, but they had to make it a four-door sedan, so they added the seats at the rear. But up front is really where everything is at. Now, even though the seats are basic, I do like this two-tone color finish you have going. In person, it really stands out. I also really like this strip running along the dash here. In direct sunlight, it gives you a kind of brownish purplish glow. But if you're not in sunlight, it just looks black. That's a pretty cool touch. Moving to the center console, it's a bit on the unique side in that you have a three-tier system with three individual pockets, but none of them are actually sealed off when the top flap is closed. It just kind of sits on top of them. But if you look at it from the front, you can still see inside of it. I am not entirely sure what benefits derive from this type of design, but it's a unique design. I've never seen it anywhere else before. Moving a bit further forward, you have your main control section for your infotainment screen. This giant center turn dial turns left, right. You can also move it like a joystick, left, right, up, down. And this is your main interface for your infotainment. Now, the infotainment really isn't anything to write home about. If you have used a Mazda anytime in the past 10 years, this is it. Exact same thing. But it is what it is, and it does what it's supposed to do very quickly and very efficiently. Because there's no point in having fancy graphics and animations if all it's going to do is look pretty but slow down the interface process. Another thing I really love is the fact that they have buttons, physical buttons. You can control everything on this screen from this giant turn dial in the center. You also have a physical back button, a physical home button, a physical navigation button, and a physical volume button. So at a moment's notice, you push back, it goes back. You push home, it goes back to the home screen. You want to go to navigation, you hit navigation. The volume and actual button. None of that touchscreen haptic feedback button nonsense that have you fiddling while you're driving. I love this. They need to bring that back in most vehicles. Moving further forward, you have a shifter with a manual shift gate, so you rock it to the right and you are now in Tiptronic mode. But counterintuitively, you pull back to upshift, but you push forward to downshift. So the first time I'm driving it in Tiptronic mode, I pushed up to upshift and it downshifted. I'm like, what? What's going on here? But next to that, you have a button that is a single use button. You have two modes, regular, aka normal, and sport. So you push up, you're now into sport mode, you pull back, you're into regular mode. Don't get carried away. The sport mode don't add more power. It just tells the transmission to hold a lower gear for a longer period. Next, you have your AC controls. Nothing too fancy, regular turnstile dials up front. Reliable, functional, and to the point. Now you may consider these buttons to be basic until you had to fiddle with HVAC controls on a touchscreen while driving. Below that, you have a 12-volt power outlet. In the center, you have a USB port, and to the right of that, you have some orange flap covering something that I couldn't figure out what it was about. So if you know, leave it in the comments. I would love to know what that flap is really covering. Regarding the AC vents, I think they could have made this one also rounded. So you'd have had 4 round vents rather than 3 round vents and then this one rectangular one in the center there. It kind of shows off the design. Plus the AC vents don't feel as premium as I think they should feel, especially in a vehicle that is this new. This vehicle only had like 300 kilometers when I tested it. It's not giving premium, but it's a $198,000 vehicle, so maybe it's not in the premium category. You have a multi-function steering wheel with all your required buttons, volume, hands-free controls, everything. So if you don't want to use the interface for the touchscreen, you can still control most of that like volume and changing stations from the steering wheel. Very convenient, very handy to have all these things right at your fingertips. Further forward, you have an instrument cluster, which is really a nice instrument cluster. With everyone taking the cheaper way out and just putting a giant screen for your instrument cluster, we would one day look back at instrument clusters like these that had some design and some design language to it and miss them sorely, because these are the last of a dying breed. You do get vanity mirrors for the driver and passenger, but they are unilluminated, so bring your own sunlight and come. You get a shade solar even though few uses them, but you don't get any LED map lights or dome lights, just regular lights. Surprisingly, you do get a large glove box, and I say surprisingly because the glove box here is bigger than some SUVs that I've seen that are actually bigger than the CX-3. In terms of features, it's very light on features, especially given what people would expect in 2026. What you do get, blind spot detection, cruise control, a 6-speaker system, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, wired, not wireless. In terms of safety, you get curtain and side airbags along with your front airbags, so you're reasonably safe inside the CX-3. It doesn't go overboard with center airbags and knee airbags and seatbelt airbags, but you have the basics when it comes to safety. But now, let's take the CX-3 out in the road and see how it drives. And I will tell you all from now, this is one of the areas where the CX-3 doesn't just shine, but it actually excels over many other vehicles in this category and even above it. And this is why. On paper, the Mazda CX-3 doesn't seem very powerful at all. It has a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. No turbos, no superchargers, no hybrid component providing extra power. Just a naturally aspirated 1.5 liter engine pushing out 114 horsepower and 110 foot-pounds of torque. Measly numbers by 2026 standards. Even the transmission seems outdated by modern standards. It's a regular 6-speed automatic transmission. No dual clutch nonsense, no CVT, no hybrid component, direct drive, nothing. Regular torque converter, 6-speed automatic. But here is where those numbers are deceptive. Even though the CX-3 doesn't carry the zoom zoom badging on it, you can tell that Mazda's zoom zoom philosophy, which is making driving fun, is silently at work underneath the skin of the CX-3. You get proper road feel. Most modern vehicles have a numb feel to the steering wheel. You don't know exactly what the front wheels are doing until it's too late. But the moment I stepped into the CX-3 and started driving, I felt the difference. It's almost as if they're using the old school power steering rack and pinion setup, but you know exactly what the front wheels are doing. It conveys to you precisely via how the steering wheel feels at every speed. I love that. This is one of the reasons why I say the CX-3 is a driver's vehicle. It excels in that over many other vehicles, even at a higher price point. And then you have the biggest elephant in the room, a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine only putting out 114 horsepower and 110 foot-pounds of torque. It must be slow and sluggish, but in reality, it isn't. You never feel like you are lacking power. No, it's not a race car, but it is engineered in a way where you actually feel like you are driving a car that was meant to be driven. But added to that, under heavy acceleration, listen to this sound. I would say about 60% of what you are hearing there is coming from the exhaust at the rear, which is good because most times you have vehicles with smaller engines and you step on your accelerator pedal and you can hear the engine crying for help. You can hear the engine struggling up front. In this case, the dual exhaust actually serves a purpose. You hear the exhaust at the rear and you barely hear the engine in front struggling. But let's see how that translates from 0 to 100 km per hour while in sport mode. It's not fast, but it's also not feeling very slow. In a straight line, yes, a Nissan Note, a Honda Vezel, some other hybrid vehicles can definitely out-accelerate it. But in everyday driving, day-to-day driving, it's the perfect vehicle in terms of driving. I would say this is a driver's car. Mazda's zoom zoom philosophy holds true here. You have a driver-centric cockpit with large enough buttons that you can drive while interfacing with the system. You have a large instrument cluster that is race inspired. In other markets, you have a large tack in the center, but for some reason, we have the speed. You have dual exhaust at the rear. You have a vehicle that feels faster than it should be given the horsepower and torque figures on paper. You also have a very nimble and agile feel to it, given its excellent road feel through the steering wheel. Unfortunately, even though it excels in the one thing it should be, a driving machine, today's market is about features, and the CX-3 is sorely lacking on features. Most other vehicles lined up next to it would get sold before the CX-3, which is a shame because it is an excellent vehicle to drive. It also shows why the Chinese are dominating right now because they would have found a way to keep this vehicle at this price point and give you like 50 other features. Collision mitigation, a 360 camera, forward parking sensors, a front-facing camera, maybe even ambient lighting. But when it comes to the Japanese, they are still going based on build quality. And sure, this transmission will last a long time. You have no dual clutches to burn out, no CVT belt to shatter while driving up Lady Young. It's going to last a very long time. The engine is also going to be bulletproof for a very long time. But is the market really thinking of that? Or is the market thinking of, $198,000, no features, or $220,000 for a Vezel that comes with powered seats and a large glass roof? I'm going to buy the Vezel. And that is why I find the Chinese are taking over. Excellent vehicle to drive, missing features. What would you choose? Tell me down in the comments.